up? What up? What up? It is that guy Dub, and I'm back with another video. How y'all doing? At the end of the day, shout it. I'm Good Money. We are back in the studio with you saying one of the baddest DJs that you saying like in the land, DJ Easy B. What's going on, brother?
What's happening? What's happening, Deuce, man? Just checking in with you, man. How everything on your end, bro?
Everything's pretty good, man. Just you've been trying to take everything one day at a time, and you've saying just like I said, I'm trying to start a new venture using with this use interview platform to where it's like I said, I'll take my platform, you saying that I've got you saying some followers, and you saying introduce people to the people that I admire, the people that I see down my timeline that may have a story to tell, that you saying you use it that you may have not have reached yet, that I may have reached to, and you know what I'm saying, and that way we can all help each other and grow in this thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. I got you. I definitely understand that, bro.
Well, you said, well, those of you that don't know DJ Easy B, he's a well-renowned DJ. How long have you been DJing, brother?
Oh man, let me go way back. I probably started DJing. I was about like 14, 15 years old, man. I'm 54 right now, so it was just one of those type things that back then. Let's go back, back in time. I've always been into music. Let's put that on Front Street first. I mean, sports is cool, but I've always been into music. You know what I'm saying? This has always been my thing. I mean, I remember, back in the day, I guess the whole feel of music it was amazing back then because I mean, I just told someone just recently it was fun just to record music off the radio with a cassette tape where you push the record button and sometimes I would even let the commercials ride because it was just such an amazing time with music. And you take the tape out and you pop the little tabs on the back so you wouldn't erase it by accident. You know what I'm saying? And if you wanted to erase the tape, you take a piece of paper and you stick it down in the hole, or you take another piece of tape and you tape over, and that's how you record it over. And it was like I was just speaking on that subject to a friend of mine just the other day, and it's like the tape get tight, you put a pencil in it, you turn it and you turn it, you know what I'm saying? And then sometimes you would take the tape in there and you would fast forward and then rewind it back so the tape would loosen up. And if it didn't, there's sometimes the tape break and then you become like, oh man, my tape broke. So what you would do is take the tape and cut it and splice it and put it back together. It might have not been in sequence where it was initially in the beginning, but it was just and even worse come to worse, if the tape really got bad, you just break the case and try to put it in another case. You know what I'm saying? It was just some, it's funny now that reminisce on it, but just that whole time of just going and buying the little 45s and it was just an exciting time. I just really since you brought that, I just reminisce on that. I didn't mean to go that deep into it, but
Dude, this is about you. You said to tell your story. You said, now I'm gonna tell a quick story. You said about you and I.
I already know it.
That was hilarious. You saying my man used to DJ at this club called Marlene's, and you say in Austell, Georgia. And I'm sitting on the dance floor playing around, and I'm six stepping. Anybody that remember with six stepping, it's like floor work when it comes to b-boy moves. I tell my man, it was like, yo, Easy B, come out of the floor. This man was like, bro, you want this? I'm like, yeah, come on. Bro, I wish I had not have said nothing because this man showed me. This man spinning on his hand with it. I'm like, oh, what the? No.
what I got myself into. But that's kind of like, I'm going to let you elaborate on, but that's kind of, I was going to elaborate on that a little bit later, but that's how basically I got into DJing. It was my entryway. Music was already there, but b-boy dancing was my thing. And it was kind of like as that kind of faded for me during the course of that, DJing took the place of that. So that's kind of like how I got the name Easy B. Cats always used to tell me, man, you make these moves look so easy. That's what they used to say. So used to say easy all the time. And because I was actually a b-boy or a breaker, you see what I'm saying? My name was like Easy Break. That was my name. So when the DJ came into the situation, I just dropped the REAK off of off a break, and I kept the B. So the B kind of signifies my B-boy identity. Easy is what they called me, and then added the DJ, and that's how DJ Easy B came about.
Okay, well, I guess we're gonna expound a little bit more on. We'll come back to you saying that night in the club, but what I was like, why do you think b-boying has kind of died off in the recent years? I mean, we still see it with groups like the Jabberwockies or your Super Crews or you say your Rocksteady Crews. I mean, it's like you still see them out there, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be. Now it's more like the ISO type dancing or the ticking and stuff like that. Why do you think the breaking has kind of fell off somewhat?
Well, I think what it is everything evolves and it has its time and that type thing, but there's still an underground scene for that. There's a real strong underground scene, and a lot of the times, maybe not here in the United States, but you go to South America, you go to other countries like Japan, they're very religious about it. So it's not that it's not there, it's just not in the mainstream, like it was back in the 80s. But it's still a force to be reckoned with, and it's probably the purest thing in hip hop right now. That, and I think that I call it graffiti art, but a lot of graffiti artists don't even like to even call it. They call it writing. So basically, it's still there, but it's kind of submerged or to that degree. It's still there, and I think that's really probably the purest form of hip hop culture right now. I think the b-boying and the writing is probably the most rebel in the culture right now, because there's no way you can really exploit it or money can be made off of it. But what it did, it was like submerged at the time, and it became popular, and then it submerged again. So I guess that's the best answer for that.
What do you think about? Because I have seen reports of them adding b-boying as an Olympic event.
Right.
I personally think that I think it's dope, but what do you think about something like that?
Well, like I said, there you go again. Everything evolves. Everything has its time and its place. And I guess at the time, you know what I'm saying? There were probably people that pushed on for that to become an Olympic sport, because just like I said, it's not a thing that just that's here in the United States, but it's actually a worldwide thing. And speaking on that, I got to give a shout out to Original Skills Crew, which I'm a part of, which is a branch off of a Rocksteady Crew, and with a guy named Kev Ski that I work with very closely. I call him my brother Kev Ski, and the founder of Original Skills, which is a worldwide organization, JoJo. And JoJo came up during the time when he was actually the person that invented the backspin. And so he came up during the time when you had people like Jimmy D and Jimmy Lee, and it was certain people that at that time that they kind of all grew up together, and a lot of the moves were created by these individuals. And then what happened is it went from that to going back to what we're talking about. You start seeing it on TV, now, the movies like, Turbo, Breaking, you know what I'm saying? Beat Street, Wild Style. It just evolved until it got to the point where, you know what I'm saying? You had cats like the New York City Breakers. Can't forget about people like that, Pex, Little Lep, people like that. Those type people. They had an opportunity to dance for the president of the United States. I think it was Ronald Reagan, the president inauguration. So, I mean, like I said, you got just basically had these street kids that's doing street dancing, and they were able to go to different countries and experience different things. If they were not into that, you know what I'm saying, and the opportunities that was afforded to them, there's no telling what they, not having those opportunities, what they might have not had turned out to be, or had those opportunities to be. And that's the same thing with the what they call rapping now, was the MC. As you got, the other day I was just at McDonald's. Let's see, Cardi B and I can't think his name right now. Yeah, Offset on a billboard at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? So it's sort of like it's just evolved to the point where you can't turn this way or that way without seeing some influence from hip hop.
Okay, you were speaking on you said like the McDonald's thing. You said like because you said when the Migos came out, a lot of people thought you said, "Oh, this is trash. This is mumble rap." You said this is this, that, and the third. You said everybody had something to say. You said you either loved it or you hated it or you was just like or whatever. You said, do you think that even if a certain demographic might find a certain aspect of hip hop, you saying or garbage, do you even if they have a bad you saying thought about it, does it still move the conversation up for the culture forward?
Well, any press and all press is good press when it comes to um that from a cultural standpoint, because like I said, for those that don't really know, um um um, um back way back, you had when you had actually had bands playing music. I mean, when I say bands, I'm talking about SOS band, Cameo, Gap band, these type people. When hip hop started out on the scene, a lot of those people at that time wasn't even respected. They had to fight the right to have a full stage. They were like, okay, well, you just got some turntables. You just stay over in this corner. And just almost like the civil rights movement or the movement, there was a movement in that, and they had to fight to get the respect to have a whole stage, to perform on a whole stage. And a lot of people don't even really realize it wasn't just all of a sudden you just jumped on a stage and you had a whole stage, because there was and what they did is they continued to beat it out and beat it out. And then, what I'm saying, they basically, they gained a respect to have the whole stage. And that's another point to that. You got to realize the closer to your to first generation, first slash second generation, a lot of those people, they the MCs and the groups at that time, they emulated what was before them or what they grew up listening. So groups like the Temptations, James Brown, people like that, they took those intricate pieces that those individuals used and they incorporated it into hip hop. And that's where it came from. So over time, you know what I'm saying? We're getting farther and farther away, or it's eroding over time. And that's what's happening. So what's going on now is you have a lot of these pioneers, and they really don't have anything to do with age. But what I'm saying, you have a lot of these pioneers that are starting to die out. They're starting to die a little bit at a time. So, and a lot of people are taking it personal because they feel like these people, they grew up listening to them. They really, like, they knew them, like they grew up with them, and they're the soundtrack of their life. So I can totally identify with that. And so that's where I kind of take it personal, because it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, just like it happened for those people, it happened to me that same way. And it's an extension of my life. And I'm doing the things that I'm doing and have done the things that I've done because of hip hop.
Well, you expounded on that when you said that, like, you took it personal. So like when somebody like a DJ Academics would sit there and until he actually elaborated on it, and you said made clear that he was only talking about one person when he brought up about the OGs being old and dusty, and you said and not basically having what you said these newer guys have. You said, like, so I personally, as a hip hop head, I took it personally until he actually explained what he was saying. Of course, and still his explanation was kind of corny, but which is why I had to give it to a LL Cool J to be like, nah. You said, and had to basically pull Buddy's coattail. You said, so how do you think that we need more of the OGs like LL Cool J and a Busta Rhymes to pull these young boys' coattails when they're getting out of pocket?
Well, I think, that basically becomes a situation where you can't really make a person respect anything. You know what I'm saying? They're either going to respect it or not. But I think that's what happens with that is that we've become a society of entertainment, but we've lost sight on educating or the history. That's the problem. So what happened is, of course, naturally you have, these guys, they're making money, and You know what I'm saying? They don't really care about who came before them. I mean, you know, with all this technology that we have in the world today, you know what I'm saying? You can find out about certain things. But first of all, the wants got to be there before you even have the thought process of even researching or thinking about that. You gotta have some kind of insight or some kind of respect for what you do. And it doesn't have anything just to do with hip hop or DJing, anything like that. It's like that's with anything. I mean, you know, I was just talking about that other day. It's just like, now this is I'm gonna put this towards you, and I mean, and it makes a lot of sense. Just think now. I'm thinking personally myself. Now I'm thinking about my parents. Now I know my parents now, and I know my grandparents, but I don't know my great great grandparents and what they did for a living. I'm talking about that's my generation, from my mother's generation. Okay, my generation's my mother's generation, the generation before that, and the next generation before that. I can't tell you what my great grandparents did for a living. You know what I'm saying? And that's close. What I mean by that is that history. How do you know somebody in your family might have did something great and you wouldn't even know it? That you were that in that close proximity of is because we kind of like, you know, and I hate to say that, but I mean, you look at other races or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You got, you know, a lot of these white people, they'll take their kids to go see the Grateful Dead or go see this group or the go see this group, and they actually take them with them, so they get an opportunity to experience what their parents got a chance. Whereas that we as minorities, a lot of times we look at stuff as dated or that's old or, you know, that's them old niggas, or, you know what I'm saying? And what by us doing, that's that old school. Even the title old school is a negative title. And that was brought to me even more by Dr. Ice that was with UTFO. And when he actually explained it, I was like, you know what, you're right. So that made me go into my library. When I go play music, I took old school out. I put classic. See, if you see a classic car rolling down the street, you get respect. You don't call it an old school or old car. You don't call rock and roll old school rock and roll. They call it classic rock. So see, even the title that we use on, you put old sneakers in the garbage can. You put old people in the old folks' home. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be careful with the words that you even choose. Like I said, I can understand we use it loosely, but you know what I'm saying? I don't even like to call it old school, because see, then these younger cats are going, oh, that's them old niggas. That's that old school music. That's, you know, that's that. So even a title itself, by labeling it a certain thing, brings on negative connotation. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You said it was like, well, you said we'll jump forward to my next question, because I know that what something that's still pretty prevalent in current conversations is this top 50 hottest rappers. And it's like they had Kendrick Lamar in, I think, the top 5. Me personally, I don't have a problem with Kendrick Lamar. I think Kendrick Lamar is an amazing artist. He's very talented. He's very lyrical. He's one of my favorite artists within the last 10 years. I'm not even gonna cap to you. You said the argument is because I think Kendrick Lamar has like 6 or 7 albums, and Biggie's in the top 5, and he's only got 2. So they're trying to say that how can you say that Biggie was able to put such a standpoint on hip hop with only 2 albums, and a Kendrick Lamar who's basically maybe 15 years old 12, 15 years old in the game, can both coexist in that top 5. And then why do you think that they even make stupid lists like this because at the end of the day, they didn't ask me. I'm sure they didn't ask you, but so why even do these lists if you're not really going to get the full consensus from everybody?
Right. Well, I think what it is it depends on what gauge you're using. You see what I'm saying? Because see, people are going to look from their time period, and they're going to use that as the gauge, of course, according to the extent of their knowledge. You see what I'm saying? So it's like bridging back to what we were saying before. If you don't respect or you never learn what the other people contributed to the game and what they did, those people are the ones that paved the road or laid the foundation for you to even drive a car over. So what Kendrick Lamar, I mean, no disrespect at all. What I'm saying, if we go back in time where there was no social media, where there was no videos, where they didn't have these advantages, could he sell a record just off it? Would he been able to been a pioneer where there was no videos, there was no MTV, there was no, even the technology that we're using today? You didn't have any of that. You had to be bad with yours. And what I mean by that is like, and this is the God honest truth. It's just like, I'm originally from VA, you know what I'm saying? I've lived in several places in my time, but I used to go to New York back in the 80s. I got a long standing relationship. So I used to go up and, have record the BLS and Kiss tapes off of the radio. And going back to what I was saying about the cassette tapes, then you would have other people that were and you got to realize at that time, all these records were independent records. There were no major record deals they were just starting to evolve, at that time. So what I'm saying is that what made it even funnier is that, I would say, like, come from New York and I would come back down south and I'm listening to this music. So those tapes were was a vehicle for people down south to hear music and what was going on up in New York or where this thing was evolving, because, what I'm saying, it evolved in the Bronx. But what I'm saying, there was other intricate pieces in the tri-state, the inner city, the inner city. But what it did is it started in these areas, and then what happened is it spilled over, and it started spilling over into the tri-state area, started moving into Connecticut and Jersey and all these places that and that's got to be attributed to of course to God rest the dead, Mr. Magic. You know what I'm saying? He actually had a pirate radio station, and he was doing a lot of stuff that they wasn't even doing in New York. So to be God honest truth, what we call hip hop wasn't even respected in New York at the time. You see what I'm saying? So it took for people like me to bring a tape down south, and I'm listening to this stuff and, wow, and this and this and this and that. And, the next person might bring a tape down south or whatever. He might take it to Georgia. This person might go here, Alabama, Mississippi, wherever the case, Texas, whatever. So going back to what you were saying, what Kendrick Lamar and all these people would, if they were at that time when they didn't have all of these different social media platforms and videos, would they would have been strong enough, or would they have had enough juice to, like I'm saying, being able to survive just that portion of it to get to the point where, what I'm saying, record companies and stuff start taking this whole hip hop thing serious after Rapper's Delight, which God rest the dead, Sylvia Robinson, which hip hop, what we call hip hop, the success is because of a woman. This is what it really is. The success of hip hop is because of a woman, even though it's a male dominated, sport. We're going to call it sport. But what I'm saying, that's how it got to the point. And when Rapper's Delight came on the scene, it was like that kicked the door in for everybody else. And that set the stage for your Houdinis, Run DMCs. And then these people you start seeing on videos back in the early 80s, like Run DMC was one of the ones that was like one of the early ones to be seen on TV. You know what I'm saying? And then I know I'm long-winded. I apologize, but
no, I'm enjoying the conversation. Do your thing.
But at the same time too, when we were coming up, I think we were more versed when it came to music, because it wasn't like we just, like today, they just listen to rap music. That's all they know. I knew about Cyndi Lauper. I knew about Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. I knew about The Clash. I knew about Yes. I knew about, Chicago, Journey, Foreigner, Rush. I can keep going on. You see what I'm saying? I can keep going on. So what I'm saying is we listened to a wider range. We had a wider range of listening than today, where cats is just pretty much in one lane. And there's nothing wrong with listen to one thing, but what I'm saying is that I can go to a party and not play one R&B song, not play one rap song, and I could go and play rock and roll the whole time, and they'd be looking at me, how do you know all this stuff? Because we grew up listening to it. We 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 saw this thing evolve. So it's a difference when you see it evolve versus just being born into it. I guess that's like, if you're old enough, I remember where there was no cell phone. I remember there was no microwave. There was no this. There was no that. You know what I'm saying? And so I have appreciation for it, and I remember when it was black and white TV. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate the evolution of everything around me, but that goes back to what I was saying. Any of those guys that they putting on their list, whoever is the author of this list, you see what I'm saying? They got to take in consideration that they didn't have all this advancement that they have now. So that's you really got to be bad with yours, bro.
Right. You said that's what you said. One thing like with my kids. My kids, they know from you said Elvis Presley to Motown. You said Michael Jackson to you said like to Kiss to you said Aerosmith to Menudo to the Backstreet Boys. You said Run DMC, MC Hammer, Ice-T. You said Vanilla Ice. You all the way down to Lil Baby. You said my kids know about all of it. You said,
right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, why do you said what happened to some of us to where we stopped? Because our parents would introduce us to their music and to their records, and we evolved with music. You said, where do you think the disconnect you said came in to where a lot of these kids now don't appreciate the history? Because you got hip hop, and you got music connoisseurs like ourselves who want to ingrain our children into the history of music from you said the oldest of the old to the newest of the new, but then everybody else is just like you said, just they got lost in the sauce somewhere.
Right. Well, I think the demographics is one thing. The demographics has changed. You got grandma now. She smoked weed, and grandma got her chest out and back out. You know what I'm saying? And she got tattoos, and she smoked weed, and I was gonna say Tupac, but that's old school. You know what I'm saying? But it's less like what it is once again, it's like things evolve, but at the same time too, you know what I'm saying? You got a lot of times you got these record companies and record company execs and people that call the shots. You see what I'm saying? What they're doing is they're not allowing these what I call the elite or the mature in hip hop. They're not signing these people anymore. They're not able to continue on with what they laid the foundation for because there's not an avenue for it. You see what I'm saying? There's not an avenue. So that's the reason why you don't hear Big Daddy Kane right after you hear Amigos or after you hear Drake or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's sort of like what's happened is that it's dwindled down to nothing where these people don't even get heard. They don't have an avenue to get heard. You see what I'm saying? So the market is being saturated with just what they want you to hear instead of it being wide. And you able to hear. And that's just, you know, because I mean, I speak personally, you know what I'm saying? I was one of those ones when I was growing up, going to college and stuff like that. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get into broadcast and communications. That was my thing, and it still is now. But over time, as I started becoming less attracted to it because I saw how corporate ran it was. And see, I'm a very creative DJ, and so I would be a person that just I would be being dictated to. You gotta play this, so you're going to do this, and if you don't have a job no more. And me, like I said, I guess that could be a person could look at it as, I ain't gonna say as a flaw or a downfall for me. It's just that, like I said, for me, the reason why I do this is because I'm passion driven. I'm not money driven. I'm more passion driven. If I was money driven, I probably would have done a lot of things that I shouldn't have done, and I would have had money. But what I'm saying is I'm more a passion driven person. And a lot of times you have to have those people that offset the masses. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, and it's really funny. I'm gonna elaborate on that a little bit. I was actually DJing at Sportsline. You remember Sportsline? And I'm not gonna name I'm not gonna mention the name, but this dude was, he had a name as a mixtape DJ. And he had a pretty big name. I ain't gonna mention no names because I ain't trying to start that. But I remember one night I was in the booth and I was playing and it was almost like, well, I'm a DJ, but I'm not that type of DJ. And it's like he had made that quote, and I'm like, well, what kind of DJ? What kind of DJ am I? That I mean, So in essence, what I'm saying is, I think what's going on now, you have more people that's fascinated with the idea of being a DJ than being a DJ. Right. They more fascinated with the idea of being a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Versus being an MC. They don't want to do the work that come with it. They want to just add water, the microwave version of everything. And this is not something that you go to the mall and buy. You don't go buy skill off a rack. You can't go buy skill. And that's what going back to what we were saying. And I'm glad you brought that up. And I mean, you brought that up earlier. See, B-boying, you can't go buy at the mall. You can't go to Lenox Mall and buy B-boy skill. You see what I'm saying? You can't learn how to windmill by buying it at Walmart.
Right.
You got to put that time in.
You can buy a spin beanie, but you saying unless you practice, you ain't.
And what I'm saying is, trying to undress or nothing like that. But like I said, I got a burn mark on my shoulder from learning how to windmill. So like I'm saying, it's almost like I think this is the best analogy. Say like if you play basketball and you out on the basketball court and you see these guys, they and they going up and jamming, you know what I'm saying? And you see them doing it and you want to do it so bad, you got it in you to want to do it, but you don't really have it like that. So you get out there and you be prying, you be trying to get them ups, man. You know what I'm saying? And then you get up there and you cut your finger on the rim. Your rim start bleeding, but you still hard headed. I'm still want to do this. You don't care if your fan's bleeding. I'm still gonna do this. You know what I'm saying? And you keep doing whatever you got to do. Get out on the court, practice by yourself, and then one day you get that up and you go bam. And that first time that that's the best time because you were able to accomplish, what you had spent time in repeatedly, day after day, night after night. That first time that you go up in the air and you blam, that's the best time because it's like you've accomplished that. So that's exactly what I'm saying with the whole thing with DJing, b-boying, the whole everything. You got to pay the price, man. You got to pay the price. There's no shortcuts. If you want to be in this and you want to be respected and you plan on having some real longevity in the game, you got to pay the price, man. There's no shortcuts.
Right. Well, you think continuing on with that, because you have evolved as a DJ and into the game, because it's not just two turntables in a mixer anymore. You said now you got your laptop and now you got the CDJs and your Seratos and everything like that. But the fact that you possess a skill that a lot of these DJs now that you couldn't even touch because you could still cut vinyl.
Right.
A lot of these DJs can't. I saw you starting to hint at that when you said you was like certain mixtape DJ was like, well, I'm not that kind of DJ. You said it's got to give you said an error of you saying being proud. You said like for one that you've had the longevity to be in it this long and to still love it and because like you said. You can go get a Serato kit or whatever, and you can practice for a couple of hours and stuff like that, and then charge $150 to do somebody's wedding or something like that. But it still doesn't touch what you can do because you have a lifetime of doing this. So the question I'm getting at is, you said it's like, how does it make you feel? You saying being able to evolve throughout the decades. You saying with real. You said from when it started to where it is now, and how does it make you feel? We said with the mofos that are just going to Guitar Center, getting the thing, and then you said basically undercutting you. You said because they learned the skill in about a week. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I look at it like this. They've never cooked on a stove before. All they know is to throw a hot pocket in the microwave. They never learned the mechanics of DJing. People don't really understand how deep this thing is. And I mean, like I say, even with the years and the experience that I have and things that I've done and the relationships that I've built with people, it's still, I still feel like, wow, you know what I'm saying? This so deep. And because people don't really look at it from a science perspective, music is math. So if music is math because you're dealing with notes and measures and you're dealing with numbers, that means infinity. So this thing is infinity. So it don't matter how long you've done this, you're going to always see something, or somebody can bring something to you different that you've never seen before. And along my journey, I'm saying I think the biggest reward that I've gotten from it is that, you know, I always, and this is the God honest truth, I always wanted it when it was said and done, when you open the hip hop book, you see my name in there. That's what I always wanted. It wasn't about the women, it wasn't about the getting the numbers, it wasn't about the fame, it wasn't about the money. I just wanted the respect from the greats. I wanted the greats to know me, not just that I know them. So you know what I'm saying? When I got an opportunity, you know, I can't even, you know, here live on the show, I can't even tell you the gratitude when I have people like Houdini and they actually want me to go on the road and DJ for them. You know what I'm saying? And when you go on the road and DJ for these people, you know what I'm saying? They got a legacy and they got history and years and years. And it's like, you know, now here it is, I'm on the road for them, with them, and they trust me. They trust me with their career. You see what I'm saying? And then it's like now you on the road with these people, but Dougie Fresh is right beside you. You see what I'm saying? So it's not a dream. It's not a fantasy. You see what I'm saying? These are people that I grew up listening to. And I think, and I'm gonna make my way back to what we were initially talking about. So with saying that, it's like I'm saying, and I don't mean anything, but if I died tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? I felt like I accomplished, or I used my time wisely. And if I stopped DJing today, it would be cats would never catch up with me. They would never catch up with me, because when I got into it, I got into it for the long haul. I didn't get into it just to. So with saying that, other things have spawned off of that. You know, I had shot a documentary.
Yeah.
I shot a documentary, and the documentary was based off of the development of hip hop, and that's just the MC, but the B-boys, the writers, the whole everything. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to use this as a teaching tool, not a entertainment tool, but a teaching tool. So when it's all said and done, you know what I'm saying, people can go back and they can grab onto something or reach towards something, and they can understand how this thing evolved. So I'm a part of that. And you know, I guess that's the bigger thing. It's just like, I don't feel like I'm no different than any other man. I just feel like that, you know what I'm saying? The only reason why I'm doing this stuff I'm doing is because of the passion. That's it. Right. No, I'm not doing anything special. I don't think that I'm doing anything special. Just like I said, it's just the passion in me. That's it.
Right. And you saying that we're going to touch on your documentary here in a minute.
Okay.
But you say, get like Hollywood, they come in and they try to, basically you said, take from our culture. You see, so like, right. And it's like, you like when you're scrolling Facebook, you see people use all the time, oh, what's something good to watch on Netflix or on Hulu, on Prime or whatever, whatnot. To me personally, I know it's a couple years old, but to me, one of the best, I guess, made for Netflix type deals to use that really showed respect to hip hop was The Get Down.
Right.
And right. I mean, we've seen so many ways they've done it wrong. Using right. Like I definitely had to appreciate you saying them actually doing the work, and then Nas getting involved and you said things like that to make sure that it was done right. You said expounding upon that, you did come out with a documentary called Music Lovers, and you said like, how important was it to really stay authentic to the culture? You said on your work.
Well, I don't think it was. I don't think that it was. That part was the hard part, I think, and the reason why I say that is because when you look at things from a hip hop perspective, You just naturally do that. You see what I'm saying? It's not anything that, well, let me make sure that I'm doing this or doing this the right way. It's because I have respect for hip hop. So I'm going to represent it the right way. Because you got to realize all the work that I've put in and the people that I'm connected with, those people are going to look at me. They're good. Not saying they're going to judge me like the most high God, but what I'm saying, they're looking at me. And if I represent them the wrong way, then like I said, I could get blackballed or resented for life. But if I represent them the right way, I can get love for life. You see what I'm saying? So you have to decide what fuel you're being fueled by. See, I wasn't being fueled by, you know, Hollywood or the commercial. I was being fueled by what I've always been pure to. You see what I'm saying? So then on top of that, I spent my own money to produce the film. So you know what I'm saying? So it was nobody gave me money to do this. So that was that's a story in itself. It took me 6 years to complete. I basically went up to New York, slept in one of them little closets. I call it the closet. There's a room, there's the size of a closet. And, you know, I flew back and forth from Atlanta to New York probably about like 7 times. Had my co-director, God rest the dead, very Jazzy Motor Williams. He was very intricate and very instrumental in me pulling this off. It was very frustrating. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Just people not want to do right and this and that. But I was finally able to, after a 6-year journey, man, I was able to get it to the point where I've had 6 screenings on it. I had 3 in Atlanta and 3 in New York. And screening number 6, I had submitted it to the Hip Hop Film Festival in New York, and it was it's the only solely hip hop. I'm talking about solely hip hop film festival. Mm-hmm. And I submitted it, and it was one of the ones selected. And what I mean by that, there was only 40 submission slots. So people submitted all over the whole world, and mine was one of the ones that made it. And it wasn't a thing that you paid into it. It had to be voted in. So that means the people felt what I was doing. And they said, I thought that was the I guess the respect or the honor of that after it was all said and done, is that these people can see my vision and see, you know, this, the work that they might have not been there on a day-to-day, the work that I put in, but they respected enough to have it has been one of the ones that was selected. So that becomes a part of my legacy. That film becomes a part of my legacy because it's attached with the greats. And I mean, when I'm talking about the greats, I'm talking about Public Enemy. I'm talking about Houdini. I'm talking about Grand Wizard Theodore, the guy that invented scratching. We're talking about Rodney Stone. Rodney Stone was, that's my partner. He was in the group Funky Four that had the first female rapper in that group, and her name was Shy Rock, MC Shy Rock. And then they had it was the first group to be nationally seen on national television. It was on Saturday Night Live with Deborah Harry. And you know what I'm saying? So when you have these people, Steve D is the guy that created what they call beat juggling today. It originally is called the funk, but Steve D birthed the Executioners. So when you talk about the Executioners, Rock Raider, God rest the dead, Rob Swift, Total Eclipse, Mr. Sinister, all of those people basically came under Steve.
Right.
So, and Steve grew up with Teddy Riley. He's also an official member of the Get Fresh crew. He actually stood in for Barry B when Barry B was sick at one time. He's the only DJ that I've ever known to scratch on Michael Jackson's music. I ain't talking about scratch the record. He scratched on the record.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? When you have these people, Son of Berserk, you know, they came under that whole Long Island scene with Public Enemy. You know, it's just like I said, it's just an amazing thing when you're doing things from a pure standpoint, you're being sincere about what you're doing. There's other people out there, they might be far and in between, but believe me, it's almost like shooting a signal flare up. Mm-hmm. They see it.
Right.
So now I'm actually working on a screening out in Los Angeles right now. on the film.
That's something that you said you and I had talked about, and we said we got some things that we're trying to get in the works for. You said that you're doing out there. You said you said what is it something that you have going on in the future? You said possibly you said telling maybe a somewhat similar story, but from a West Coast perspective. You said just because just like I said, because you don't have many purists anymore. And you said I consider you a purist, and you said I want to commend you and give you your flowers for that because there's not many of us left. You know what I'm saying? So is that something that you're thinking about?
Well, the crazy thing, since you mentioned that, is that, you know, a lot of people told me, man, you just don't get so tired, and you can't get so tired because now I have people, they take me serious now with this film thing. They see me complete a film like from beginning to end. I'm not talking about, you know, I'm talking about copyrights through the Library of Congress. I'm talking about I've already had it in, like I said, 6 screenings on it already. And, you know, I like it as the course to COVID the last couple of years. But I think that's what's going to happen. I got to let it unfold. But what I want to do is I want to go to LA. And I'm gonna tell you because you're my man. I want to go to LA, and I was out there last year. And one of my partners, he actually works for Netflix right now, and he works in animation. But we went to this place called Delicious. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, my phone. I had to call a person back. But Delicious Vinyl. Now, Delicious Vinyl had Tony Hope, Young MC, and I was doing a little reading on them just the other day. They had Brand New Heavies on. I didn't even know Brand New Heavies was on Delicious Vinyl. But what I want to do is there's a place called Delicious Pizza. It's a spinoff of Delicious Vinyl. So this place is like really retro. They got the records in the crates, and you know, they got the boom boxes. They got like probably about like 80 of them, you know, back to back. And then they got the plaques on the wall. They got pictures of Rakim and all this stuff. And then in the backyard, they have like a courtyard where they have the Delicious Pizza van, and you know what I'm saying, almost like one of them old West Coast ice cream trucks that got the graffiti on it. And then they got the wall, and that's where I think that I want to have a screening in that location. And what I want to do is I want to take 3 people from the West Coast and 3 people from the East Coast. And the 3 people that I'm looking at is Rodney Stone. Going back to what I was saying about Rodney. Rodney was he was signed to Sugar Hill when he was a teenager. He got involved with one of the other label mates. Her name was Angie, so that became Angie Stone, the singer. Okay, Steve D. You know what I'm saying? I was talking about Steve. He's the founder of the creative beat juggling, what they call beat juggling. Then I want to bring Kev Ski, and Kev Ski represents the B-Boys. He's actually a member of the Universal Zulu Nation. He's a Rocksteady crew and Original Skills, and those are all worldwide organizations. On the other side, I want to have this cat named Disco Daddy. Disco Daddy was the first person to put a rap record on the West Coast, before Ice-T, before Eazy-E, before all of those people. He was the first, and it's not that I'm just saying it. It was certified by Rolling Stone magazine that he's the beginning of West Coast hip hop. The next person I want to have, I haven't picked a DJ yet, but I'm actually working on that now. But the B-boy or the breaker that I want Turbo, that was in the movie. You're right, and that's what I want to do. So I want to do a screening of Breaking. I want to do a screening of Wild Style, and I want to do a screening of Music Lovers. So it'll be 3 films that you can watch. And then this pizza spot, because it's already in tune to hip hop, I think that they'll be able to assist me and maybe even help sponsoring me with this. So what I do is I get permission to use their logo for social media purposes. And then, you know, the people that come there, you know what I'm saying, of course, they'll eat the food that's on the premises, which will be pizza. So why wouldn't they want to do it? Plus, on top of that, we've done all this talking. We got to understand that hip hop's 50th anniversary is this year. So why wouldn't they want to do it? You know what I'm saying? I can't say it's a win-win all the way around.
Definitely, absolutely. You, it was like just that you said hearing the passion that you're talking about. You said behind that, you said that idea and that premise. You let me know. You said when you can get that set up because I don't even like planes. I'll get my ass out there for that. I ain't gonna lie to
Right.
you.
What I'm thinking about, like I said, there I go again. I'm thinking about actually having it filmed and documented while it's going down because you got you'll hear it directly from the East Coast and how it developed, and then you'll hear it from the West Coast and how it developed. So you pulling the whole thing together, and then
Right.
what you do is you document that, and then once it's documented, it's sealed. Then you
Mhm.
take that and take it to the next level. You see what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? So I didn't, like I said, I just knew that whatever the next venture that I took on, I had to have just as much passion about it as music lovers. If not, there's no need for me to do it. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm a real dude, and I'm not even embarrassed to tell you or anybody else that's watching this. That thing made me cry about 6 times, bro. I'm just on from the pressure of it. I mean, I would have never thought it would have brought me to tears, man, but it did at least 6 times, bro. And what I'm saying is that because going back to what we were talking about just being sincere in your quest with this whole thing. I'm saying your journey with this hip hop thing. I wanted Jalil from Houdini. I wanted him to say, "Man, good job." I wanted God rest the dead ecstasy. I wanted him to look at me and say, "That's my man, Easy B." I wanted Chuck D and Public Enemy to say, "That's my man, Easy B." I just got a drop from Cassandra Jackson from Son of Berserk just the other day. That makes me feel good that these people respect me because of the work that I've done. And you can't pay for that. You can't, there's no price tag that you can, because anytime I play Houdini, I can pick up the phone and call Jalil, or I can call these people, or you know what I'm saying? I have relationships with these people, not just play their records, but I have relationships with these people. And that carries on. So long as you got a good face card, and that goes, and we're gonna bring it on home. You know what I'm saying? I got relationships, and that goes for people like Shadi and people like that. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for people like Shadi was one of the ones that laid the groundwork for everybody that's standing in Atlanta.
Mhm.
Everybody. He's one of them.
That's
And
big.
Shadi came from New York,
Mhm.
and he came to Atlanta. So when he came to Atlanta, nobody wasn't rapping then. You know what I'm saying? And he, of course, he got up with Luke and Luke Skywalker Records and all that. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing I love about Atlanta. You know what I'm saying is that Atlanta has its own scene and its own way that it developed. And you know what I'm saying? And I ain't got nothing but love for the A, man. The A showed me love. I show the A back, man. I love y'all. I'm always gonna love you.
Yes, absolutely. You said we're bringing it home because I know you said other engagement. I know you got your own. You said the podcast that you got going on later on. Actually, matter of fact, let people know about the podcast you're going to be on.
Well, I'm just doing um some streaming, like I said, just playing some music. I think with all the stuff that's going on in the world, you know what I'm saying? Of course, music is probably the only thing that can bring people together, regardless of what your color is, background, religion, races, or whatever. Music is very powerful. It's a very powerful tool. It can be used in the right way and it can be used in the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? So basically, I start running TikTok and Facebook at the same time. So it just gives me an opportunity to not feel like I'm being dictated by a crowd. I want to play how I want to play. If I want to stop the record in the middle of the record and throw this in, you know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times for me, that's when I come up with my dopest stuff. When it's just like I got a canvas and I want to throw this paint up here and I want to put this and this and that. And then when I do that, I feel free. I don't feel like I'm being restricted, and I can just do what I want to do. And that's when my dopest stuff come up. I'm talking about that's when my dopest stuff come up. And see, you know, there you go again, depending on what type of DJ. And I can say this again about Atlanta. Atlanta's a hard training ground, bro. Atlanta was a hard training ground. Because you're not going. A lot of people, that's on the outside, they under the assumption that you know, you're gonna play Yin Yang Twins all night. Nah, it don't work like that. I said, you got to play that down south. You got to play that up north. You got to know how to make them transitions. If you don't know how to make them transitions, then people gonna let you know. And hey, they ain't gonna spare no mercy. If you ain't, you already know, Deuce. If you can't play, they gonna let you know. You know what I'm saying?
You said, like I tell people all the time, right before we get up out of here, just like, okay, because back in the day, you had people that have never been outside of 285. It's not like that anymore. You got
Right.
people in the city that's from everywhere. So
Right.
you're right. You have to know what you're doing. But before we get up out of here, give everybody your social so they know how to follow you and so they can join you on the TikTok and and
Okay.
everything.
Okay. Um, on TikTok, I go DJZB 2006. Uh, government name on Facebook is Benton, Benton, Jeter, Jeter. Those are the two main areas if you're trying to find me as DJing and that type thing. But I also have TikTok. I mean, not TikTok, Instagram. Sorry, that's DJZB 2006 also as well. And I appreciate you for having me on. Like I said, I know I'm one of the people that ramble on, man. I get it.
It's like, but see, that's one of the reasons I enjoyed having you on because you said it's like, for one, you're not a boring guest. For two, you said like, I'm a student of the culture. I'm a fan of the art form. So you say so when you get to have these conversations on something that I'm as passionate about as you are, you said it's you could talk all day long. I sit here and just listen because like I'm soaking up this information. I'm soaking up using the love for the culture and everything like that. So you said like,
Right.
dude, this was
Oh,
amazing and awesome. You said to me.
yeah,
So I
let me give a shout out. Let me give a shout out to DJ Ace. That's my man.
absolutely.
I'm proud of Ace, man. You know, I just I had to say that. You know what I'm saying? Because we spoke about me and your relationship, but I had to speak on your brother's relationship. You know, I'm proud of him. I'm proud that he's out there doing his thing, man. I really am, man. Because I remember Ace. You know, he was not say he was a little timid. You know what I'm saying? But he was like trying to feel his way. And you know, I gave him some pointers and told him, "Hey man, you need to do this." And I just put him in the water, and he swam on his own. You know what I'm saying? And so I gotta definitely give a shout out to my man DJ Ace, man.
You
He's worked with quite.
You saying that's definitely my brother, and I love him to death. And you saying and he's making plenty noise and major moves out here in the DJ game, and is also keeping pure to the using the form of hip hop. But you saying, like I said, once again, we're gonna give a special thank you to my guest DJ Easy B. Make sure that y'all like, share, comment, subscribe, turn on that bell notification so you don't miss another video. Without further ado, I love you, DJ Easy B. Thank you once again, my brother. Y'all
Man.
stay safe. God bless. Hold it in the road. Peace. All right, brother.
All right.